Thank you for joining the Innovate to Build session, or this Innovate to Build session, rather. The power of connected construction and why partnerships and integrations are reshaping AEC. My name's Tommy Moussis. I've been working with Tech for roughly 15 years now. I'm a solution architect, and I've had the privilege of moving around quite a bit with Tech, but a lot of my focus has been supporting customers technically over Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom with many different solutions in the AEC industry. Today at Tech, I am a solution architect for the Data Connect division, where I focus solely on integrations between common data environments, on-prem systems, ERP systems, and project management solutions within the Data Connect division. And for North America, if I didn't say that already. Today, normally, if you've seen me in webinars, they're usually quite technical, but today isn't just about technology. It's about how our industry is changing and what the next era of connected construction will look like. In this session, Steve and I, who I'll introduce in just a few moments, will explore how the AEC industry is shifting from siloed software to connected ecosystems, why integration partnerships are now essential, the cost of disconnected data, and how ecosystems are expanding through partnerships. Now, across AEC, we have seen an abundance of new technologies emerge, which is great. Yet despite all the software the industry has adopted, one problem still exists and slows everything down. Data lives in too many systems that don't talk well to one another. And because of this, we still see data landlocked, hard to find, hard to do anything with, and often lost. And these gaps lead directly to delays, rework, and risk on projects. The reality is this: no single platform can solve construction alone anymore. The future is no longer about standalone tools, it's about connected ecosystems. That's exactly what today's discussion is about. And I'm really pleased to be joined by someone who spends every day working at the center of ecosystems and partnerships. Steve Smith, great to have you with us. Before we start, can you tell the audience a bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do at Bluebeam?
Sure. I am the Director of Partnerships over at Bluebeam, so I'm responsible for all things related to connecting Bluebeam's technologies with the broader AECO ecosystem. And it's been something I've been working on for the last 3 years or so. Been in the industry for a good minute before that, but the exciting thing is I totally agree with what you shared there, Tommy. It's super important for our customers to be able to connect data where it needs to be, but also workflows, right? It's not just the data. Let's move things to where they need to go, but also to just shorten the line so that the workflows themselves work elegantly across different technologies and different platforms. So it's a huge challenge, but also an awesome opportunity for us to make the lives of those in construction be all the more effective and efficient.
Great, thanks for that, Steve. And I totally agree. With this slide, we see it's meant to be shock factor, but we've just touched on some of the pressures in the AEC industry and what they face with data, right? And no platform or software could solve all these different issues alone. Throughout the past 5-10 years, we've seen a significant rise in technology available, which is great on one side because it gives us the tools that we need. But so as a consequence, it reduces data fragmentation amongst teams, but creates data silos. Every organization has these headaches with exchanging data between systems and getting them to talk with one another. It's always challenging. So, Steve, with that said, I remember in the past, getting data from one system to another was very difficult. Software authors were very much the mindset of customers only would ever need to work in their broad set of solutions or tools. When even we see sometimes today, there's been a big shift with more software providers accepting that no one solution fits all, and that integrations opens the partnerships becoming strategically important. So, from your perspective, or Bluebeam's perspective, rather, how do you see the AEC industry evolve over the past few years with respects to software, and what's Bluebeam's take on integrations and partnerships, and what does that mean for the industry and our customers?
Yeah, I think a lot of the issues that you highlighted there are iterative and have changed over time. Some of them are just because the nature of work in the AECO industry is just it's just complicated. One of the things that comes to mind though that's shifted is I believe that the complexity of workflows operations in the built world has increased. There are different levels of dynamism that have become harder to be nimble and quick, and so technology has had to rise up to those challenges. And what happens is that each project is different, that these contractors and specialty contractors and general contractors and architects are all owners themselves. They're all requiring certain things that are specific and bespoke to the project. And so that level of complexity is different. Even though they're maybe building similar things, let's say that you're focusing in on hospitals. Well, building a hospital in 2026 is quite a different thing than it was even 5, 10 years ago. And so that level of complexity has shifted. And so technology has to rise to where the industry is today, in addition to making sure that there's a good enough data footprint so that those that are picking up the work of that built asset, so that owners have the right things at their fingertips to make that work. And so one of the things that shifted is the tech stack itself. Now, I don't think that it was ever true that you could have a one-stop shop to do all of your technology, to fill all of your technology needs as a professional in our industry. But I do feel that because of the bespoke nature of, okay, I'm building a data center, so I need this specific thing for this data center project, but I won't need it when I'm working on this different project type. And so because of that, tech stacks are different. And the other side that's happening, particularly with some of these larger, more complex job sites, you see a lot of joint ventures, multiple prime contractors, or that are handling certain things on this part of the project. But once it reaches this phase or this aspect of the project, you're relying on maybe another prime contractor. And what that means is, okay, how do we get these systems to talk together, but only for this project? Because typically we don't work this closely. And so there's these different things that happen, and there's no one solution provider that can say we have everything that you need. And so that makes it very difficult for IT departments, for those who are trying to get hardware and software solutions to match those needs. That is extremely difficult. And so one of the things, like pivoting that over to Bluebeam, that we've really hung our hat on is trying to use the power of our technologies to connect at the point of application. So where does the data need to be transferred? And for us at Bluebeam, one of our key areas of focus is on collaboration between stakeholders. So allowing these stakeholder groups to work together, to look at a set of drawings, to look at a file, to talk about it, to leave markups, and have this collaborative aspect meet where all of the questions come, because that's where a lot of our customers come to work with Bluebeam Technologies is, how do I solve these problems? Well, let's use this solution to do that. And so we've added a host of workflow enablement tools in addition to collaborative tools that will allow customers to do that. Our overall posture towards integrations is very open. Bluebeam is owned by the Nemetschek Group. Open BIM, open systems. We love file types that can be shared outside of a specific program, if you will. So we like PDF. We like IFC. Of course, there's lots of really cool technology out there that's bespoke to a specific provider, but our overall posture is towards openness. And so our approach to integration and connecting with other technology platforms is we're generally open. And we've had conversations with many leading software providers and lots of emerging software and hardware companies that have some really cool opportunities for us to partner with them. So we're open and ready to work with the industry where customers feel like there's a value for them.
Great. Thanks for that, Steve.
Sure.
So I like your statements with regards to openness and, great tech. We share the same ideology. Of course, we have many customers using many different products and platforms, and that's why we have a solution or business line rather dedicated to solely integrations and connecting systems, because we get these requests all the time to connect the dots not only with our products but other products and partners that we have like Bluebeam. So I like your statements, and if a given integration will create value for a customer, we're willing to support it. Like we both just stated, like Bluebeam, we also aim to offer value through integrations as. As of your long-standing platinum partners, we see trends with those who use Bluebeam, not only GCs, subtrades, but all personas that could be using Bluebeam in the AEC space on a whole. Customers generally have the markup tools they need, right? So where do they go next? And yes, we help increase adoption with training standards, incremental improvements. But what's the next real shift for customers based for me? It comes down to data and outcome, as you were mentioning. When we talk about outcomes, data and data flow becomes a hidden factor in success and a point of failure for companies if they don't have the proper tool sets to facilitate these integrations and exchanges. If we look at some of the processes, we still see today that can have a negative impact. We see organizations fragmented data and system silos. It's not unusual to see Bluebeam, SharePoint, Windows, and ACC all in the same company, never mind on the same project, and trying to collab with those inefficiencies, collaborating across teams. So as a consequence, everybody adopting, especially post-COVID, all these different SaaS solutions, it enabled or reduced data fragmentation amongst teams. But when you look at different personas in the company, of course, there can be difficulties exchanging data just amongst the different personas, never mind externally. Data governance, compliance, and protection as an example. Many organizations rely on software providers to store their data in clouds. That's another common pain. Manual data management and processes. Project volume is growing, and manual file management is not scalable. It just simply isn't. Lack of control and visibility. And many organizations struggle to implement a single source of truth. And single source of truth, although it's sort of a buzzword, I mean, we all strive to host data in these environments, right? But as mentioned, there's different personas in the company, so their single source of truth in their department might not be for the entirety of the organization or of the project. And lack of control and visibility. Many organizations struggle to, again, implement a single source of truth, and we see version inconsistencies across systems as a consequence to exporting data manually constantly. These processes may not feel dramatic day to day. It may just be accepted in how things are done in some companies, but these small inefficiencies will impact the business significantly, from profitability, risk, compliance to ISO 9650. And right, there's many other variables to that can cause risk in data loss and data fragmentation. So the important point here is this: none of this is caused by bad design, poor intent, or lack of skill. It's caused by poor data handling. It's caused by friction between systems that were never designed to work together end to end. And because of these challenges, what we're seeing is now is a change in mindset from software providers and vendors on a whole. Integration has moved from being a nice to have to a business critical requirement. Customers are asking different questions, not can the tool do X or can the tool do this, but more how does information move across stages? Where's the single source of truth? What happens when data needs to flow across teams, partners, and platforms? How do we reduce risk without adding more process and time? Ultimately, organizations are realizing that digital transformation doesn't fail because of the software itself. It fails because data gets stuck. And that's why connectivity, traceability, and trust in data have become broad level concerns for organizations and stakeholders on projects. So, so Steve, from Bluebeam's perspective, where do you see disconnected data creating the most risk for customers? And do you think most organizations underestimate how much time and risk is hidden in manual data movement across platforms and project life cycles on a whole?
So I feel like disconnected data is like it seems kind of out there, kind of okay, what does that actually mean? Well, one of the things that I have heard from customers and understand from the industry is every time a customer has to upload and download a PDF in and out of Bluebeam, for example, there's risk there. Is it the right version? Are the right people informed to sign off on this thing? Is it going to the right collaborators? Is it in Bluebeam land? Is it in a studio session or a studio project? Both of those have their pros and cons, and they're used in slightly different ways. And so those though even that can be an issue of even just picking the most recent and relevant data to go into this workflow is always a question. And particularly challenging when there's so much dynamism in every single day. I'll give you an example. So one of the things I like to do when I go onto a job site is talk to whoever is in charge of the site logistics plan, right? This is where I can accept deliveries. This is where the chain link fence opens today, but next week it's going to be over here, right? So even something as simple as site logistics, where's my laydown yard for the steel? Where can I put this drywall? All of that is so active and moving and dynamic and changing. And so even that data, like you have to find opportunities, even if this is one discrete example, of making sure that your data is hitting the right places. And some of it is just good, it's just from good data design techniques, just making sure that, okay, we have the right folder structure or permission structure set in place for the proper stakeholder groups. You can do that with many of the leading construction management and project management tools that are out there. And some of it comes down to picking the right players in terms of the software partners and hardware partners to actually connect these important pieces of information. And I feel like um, coming to the second question, I believe most organizations recognize that there will always be friction between the perfect state of data accuracy, I know everything I need to know, versus where we are today, right? Simple case in point is as builting. Okay, well, the as built can be so accurate as you need it to be, right? It can be based on
Right.
point cloud technology. It can be based on field observations. It can be based on simple, hard hat cam applications. There's tons of those awesome solutions out there. But the question is, how am I actioning out the data, right? So that is where the risk is. And the risk can come down from anything safety and compliance risk. Those are always at the very
Yep.
top of the, particularly safety is always going to be at the top of the list, where we know that our construction professionals, the trade craft, they are out there risking life and limb for the built world, literally. And we have to take super care of them. And so that is always going to be top of mind. But I think that the organizations themselves, particularly the clever and smart ones that are doing amazing work out there, they know the risk and they know how much time is out there. The question is, how much risk versus uncertainty can I live with? Because
Yep.
you'll never have all of the data that you need to make a decision. Well, sometimes you might, but you may not have all of it on all fronts, right? And so be able to weigh the risk versus the reward of, or the cost even, versus getting perfectly attainable, shareable information versus what this project's going to demand. And then, of course, making sure that everyone is safe along the way. I think that every organization that's out there doing world-class work is aware of that. It's just they have to make those trade-offs of what am I actually willing to expose my teams to in terms of risk versus making sure that we've got everything that we need on our front. And it's always going to be a balancing act. And as we
Yep.
move data, clearly there's compliance issues and things, but I have to tip my cap off to the experts out in the field that are doing world-class work, making sure that the built world is built the way that it needs to, and that the eventual projects will deliver on all fronts.
Well said. Yeah. So I agree with a lot of your statements there, and the expectations have changed. When I say expectations, like how you spoke to the risk to reward ratio, expectations have changed, but with um, how should I say this? With reason, but they have changed on a whole in the sense that more companies we're seeing do want these connected workflows, right? To, of course, reduce risk naturally. And they've changed, I would say, permanently. It's a bold statement, but there's just more expectation now with, of course, AI and leveraging all these new tools that are coming out. We see that today customers don't see integration as an advanced capability. They see it as a baseline expectation. The want to collaborate better is just the expectation, and knowing that there are tools available to facilitate this. That there's more of an like they're embracing it, right? They assume systems will integrate. They assume data will flow automatically between environments. They assume that if a drawing is approved, a document is uploaded or status change, and once it is done, the change will reflect everywhere else, or that's the desired outcome, I would say. And importantly, they don't want to think about how that happens. Again, if you're speaking to an IT or a CTO, they want to know how it happens, of course. But what customers actually don't want to be doing anymore is exporting files between platforms, downloading, uploading, and then re-uploading again when a change is made, renaming the systems to indicate different versions, checking whether something is in sync or not, etc. In other words, they don't want people acting as the courier between systems. Most companies want their PMs to be focusing on PM work, not managing documents and downloading and uploading from one environment to another. They expect their digital ecosystem to just work securely, consistently, and in a way that removes friction rather than adding process. And this expectation isn't coming from technology teams alone. It's coming from project managers, as I mentioned, commercial teams, compliance teams, those who are in finance, many different personas in the business, and increasingly from executives who are accountable, right? As projects become more complex, more regulated, and more distributed across partners and geographies, the expectation only increases. So the gap, or excuse me. So the gap customers are feeling isn't just between tools, it's between what they expect should happen and what actually happens on live projects. With that in mind, I'd like to bring this back to you, Steve, and ask what you're seeing across Bluebeam's customer base when it comes to these expectations on a whole that I just described.
Yeah, I think that our customers are largely they've expressed to industry players, we recognize that you want to be a one size fits all solution, and there are many amazing solutions that do a lot of things. But the overwhelming message to the industry is we're going to have a very thick tech stack, and that's just by the nature, like we said previously mentioned. We're just going to have a lot of solutions, and the onus is expected on you as a technology partner to solve that problem. And of course, customers love collaborating and solving their data problems. It's not like they're just like pushing it over and say, you fix it.
Right.
No, there's a lot of partnering with the customer, with our peers in the industry, with all of the stakeholders, right? Owners
Yeah.
want to figure stuff out in ways that have been a little bit different historically. And so the power of that collaboration and owning the problem. I mean, one of the things I love about our industry is it's full of problem solvers, right? Every day has a new problem for anyone who's building a project in the built world. There's going to be something to solve. And so that mindset is also hitting over into our technology problems, right? Okay, well, this is a problem. Let's see what we can do. And the work has to get done. But you're right, it has changed. It is now expected that this is going to work the way that we want it to. And sometimes that's tough because technology might not meet that mandate as quickly as all of our customers want, which we hear every day for sure. We wish it
Right.
would do this, we wish it could move in that way, but we are doing everything we can at Bluebeam to ensure that our solutions and technologies are meeting our customers where they're at the point of application, at the point of collaboration, where our systems and our technologies are used.
Thanks for that, Steve. And you know, I guess it's a good segue now to go into, what Great Tech and Bluebeam together are doing now for our customers. So we've talked about the rise of ecosystems partnerships, looked at some impacts of poor integrations, right, and discussed those different topics and what customers are expecting today. Expectations is one thing, but here's some real world examples that we're going to provide you with now of what you can achieve. Great Tech, we work very closely with Bluebeam being a platinum partner. We get asked all the time about integrations. How can we export our data, bring it over to SharePoint on-prem systems, Autodesk Construction Cloud? And right, what we're going to highlight today is one of the tools in Great Tech Data Connect's portfolio, FileSync, and how we can bridge the gap between Bluebeam, common data environments like SharePoint, on-prem systems, or even project management solutions like Autodesk Construction Cloud, and how we can facilitate the exchanges between all those systems. So, of course, we're not going to bore you to death with a bunch of technical presentations. It's not the point of today, of course. But just to give you a quick summary, what FileSync is it's a desktop application, and we connect to these environments via apps. So essentially what we do is by leveraging specific endpoints of the API, we can sync across metadata, all data objects that can be hosted within these systems, and again, streamline the process, the scheduled-based sync application, so we can connect both environments together and automate the synchronization. What this will improve, of course, is business continuity, version history controlling. If you could sync metadata, you could sync tags as well, so it can accommodate processes like ISO 19650 or conform to regulations like ISO 19650. And I think it's a good segue to speak to the different modalities. What our customers typically, from what I see, Steve, and what they're looking for is they want to be able to facilitate, when talking about integrations and exchanging data and documentation, they want to facilitate migrating data, backing up their data in case of an outage or if something like that were to occur, in ongoing project collaboration. And this is the one that I'm going to expand on a lot with regards to Bluebeam, because Bluebeam owns it touches many different points throughout the life cycle of the project. It being the main markup tool, it being able to be used for takeoffs. There's a lot of different applications for Bluebeam. So we see a lot of customers want to be able to leverage studios, projects, but be able to constantly sync between these different ecosystems to exchange data between different stakeholders of the project. So when looking at through the lens of transferring and migrating data, of course, with Bluebeam, you can have documents open directly from SharePoint. So when talking about migrating data, if you were using Bluebeam and you create a studio session, there's many different documents. Facilitating the migration of documents from one platform into Bluebeam to create a studio session would be quite beneficial. We see a lot of our customers use this for bulk migrations if you're just adopting Autodesk Construction Cloud, but we can also sync a lot of documentation to Bluebeam projects and automate that whole process as well. So that's one modality of utilizing a solution like FileSync, an integration solution like FileSync. Again, for backups, we see a lot of our customers use this to back up their data from different environments, whether it's SharePoint, Autodesk Construction Cloud, even Bluebeam for sessions. In case of an outage, these things do happen, and you don't want to be stuck without being able to access your data for a day, even if it's a couple of hours. If you're at that stage in the project where it's crunch time, it could be very costly there. And again, this is the big point, I think, and this is where we saw the most positive impact last year when we released our integration with Bluebeam. Ongoing project collaboration and we didn't hear enough complaints about it, but as soon as we presented this, everybody was like, "Oh wow, I'm so happy you can have exchanges with Bluebeam." And Bluebeam is a great solution. That's really why there was a consequence there. So many of our customers use Bluebeam, create sessions, and have multiple users access many different PDF files at the same time to edit drawings. But as a consequence, they're always bottlenecked with having to download and upload documents constantly with that environment as a consequence to the larger ecosystem. Maybe they're using, again, SharePoint, Procore, Autodesk Construction Cloud. They may be using different systems. So if you put a time against that task, sometimes we've seen companies, there could be 5, 10 PMs, spending 3 hours a week on average, just simply downloading and uploading files. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you put a cost to that weighted time, there's a huge cost at the end of the year as a consequence. And that's not speaking to the anecdotal or situational issues that can occur, as mentioned earlier, due to human error, right? Uploading the wrong document at the wrong time, maybe. So here I'm going to play just a short video just to give an idea, a real world example of how we can exchange documents and data between Autodesk Construction Cloud and Bluebeam, specifically with Studio Sessions. So we released this just last year, first starting with projects and then expanded. We saw a huge interest in projects and everybody was saying, when is Sessions coming? When can we integrate with Sessions? So this example here, what I'm showing is that our software, of course, you can pick your source environment. So in this case, I'm picking Autodesk Construction Cloud as the source environment. And the example I'm providing is that we can create sessions on the fly with our middleware, which is huge. In the sense that here I can map multiple folders related to a project to different sessions, individual sessions, and organize the sessions by attendee, or it could be by persona. And I can set the level of permissions per attendee per session for the syncs. So in reality, this is saving a lot of time because not only are we not downloading each individual document that could be residing within a folder that's specific to personas or stakeholders of that document folder. Here I can manage this all within the same UI, control the level of permissions, and sync them all at the same time. In addition, our middleware does manage, of course, versioning. So if the document naming convention is static, we stack the versions one on top of the other so we could cycle to and from. And this goes for both Bluebeam and Autodesk, of course. And I can even route the documents that I'm exchanging to a new subfolder back in source. So when looking at the lens of field applications, right, and doing markups out in the field, you don't necessarily want to compromise or rewrite documents that could reside within your source folder. Maybe you want them located in another folder. And we take in all these things into account. When talking about integration, we speak to our customers. We see how many situational changes they need or whatever nuances they need based off of their specific applications. We always take these into account to improve our middleware for exchanges of this type. So here what I just showed is the documents, of course, being exported from Autodesk, being brought into Bluebeam. We added some markups. And now what I'm doing is rerouting them back to Autodesk. And here we're seeing that the version changes are made, but these new documents now are residing into a different folder. So again, it could be for field applications. It could be for quality control and design department, drawing reviews and so on. There's many different applications for that, but this is one format of integration that we found was very well received. Being able to exchange with Bluebeam sessions specifically was very impactful for a lot of our customers. Now, another modality, call it that, you can call it topology, but another way of using a solution like file sync is to facilitate exchanges from Bluebeam session to Bluebeam session. So we became aware of this last year when speaking to different contractors, subtrades, and asking them, hey, how would you like to work with your GCs better? And what we found was there was many subtrades that actually work with GCs in a collaborative way within Bluebeam. So you can be a GC and give access to specific project folders to subtrades and to facilitate downloading documents and uploading, but within your same Bluebeam Studios environment. And so what we saw is that with a solution like FileSync, we can automate the syncing between the GCs folder and substrates folder so that they don't even have to go into the GCs folder and upload the new drawings that have been added or drawings that have been opened and or modified since the previous time since the previous sync or the previous time they went to look at that specific folder. So we can even automate the communication between GCs and substrates by using an application like this. So in this example, oh, I think there's a little bit of volume here. I'm going to lower the volume on this one. So in this example, we're seeing it's essentially the GCs folder within the substrates studio session. Okay. And so what I can do is utilize FileSync to automate the transfer of documentation from the GCs folder to your own studio projects and or sessions if you wanted to create a session automatically to import them. Now, why that's important is because, of course, new documents on a project could be added on a daily basis. It could be, but you don't want to have to always be going into the folder to see if there's any new documents that have been added. Automating this process and updating the versions within your own folder is huge. It's a good relief. Being from industry, this was one aspect of the project that I always get nervous about. Oh, new documents have been uploaded. You have to siphon through many different documents to see which new ones have been added in order to download just those and upload them into your environment. So again, by using FileSync and having just a connection with your own environment, you can then sync documents from one folder that you've been added to your own. Now, just for the sake of the session here, I'm going to move on in the video just to highlight the source and destination. So source and destination in this case is going to be your own environment here. But again, we're selecting the GCs folder that they've granted you access to in your environment and syncing directly to your own folder. So in short, it's pretty simple and straightforward, but that the risk here in retrieving the right documentation, I think, is huge. New documents could be added, they could be missed, and making sure that your folders are constantly up to date on a scheduled basis provides a huge relief for stakeholders and for project managers and teams that would need to go in and access and retrieve the documentation. So as we come towards the end of our discussion, Steve, it's worth stepping back and looking ahead. We've talked about the cost of disconnected data, the shifts in customer expectations, and where solutions like FileSync fit within a broader ecosystem. We spoke about how we can exchange data between different platforms like Bluebeam, SharePoint, on-prem systems, Autodesk Construction Cloud, etc. But the most important question is, what does the next phase look like in exchanges? Because the next 3 years are not just about incremental improvements. They're about fundamental change in how data is consumed, how value is created from it, and how organizations scale without increasing risk. We see major forces converge, increased cloud adoption, greater regulatory scrutiny, excuse me, sorry about that, more disrupted project teams, and a growing focus on outcomes rather than tools. And sitting across all these are emerging capabilities like AI, automation, and consumption-based services, all of which rely on one thing: trusted, well-connected data. So with that context, from Bluebeam's perspective, when you look ahead over the next 3 years, what do you see as the most significant shifts in how customers will consume data and derive value from connected workflows, particularly as AI automation becomes more embedded in delivery? So I've been throwing 2 questions at you, but I know this one is a huge one. So I'll let you sit with that one first.
I am so proud of us. I think that's the first time we mentioned AI in a presentation. That's pretty powerful. We've talked a lot about connected data. So some of that, the AI component is implicit in that, right? It being able to take the data and do something with it. That's I think where AI becomes super powerful. There's still a little bit of a, hey, what are we going to do? How are we AIing this workflow? There's still some questions around how the efficacy of that, the safety of that, the data integrity, the of course we want to make sure that we're compliant. There's some issues there with some of that use cases in the built world that maybe not apply to other industries. But in our industry and in our company, we are making huge plays in this space. In fact, we're releasing a new technology product called Bluebeam Max this year. That's a significant stake in the ground, and you can learn more from our friends over there at Graytech. There's a lot to be said about what we're planning in 2026. So keep your ears wide open for what we're going to be talking about and releasing this year. Very powerful technologies that we hope will unlock immense value for our users. And our overall feeling is kind of twofold. So I think the data side is always going to be relevant. There's so much data, there's so much that you can glean from data, but then there's also workflow efficiency. So both of those things need to be played together, right? So how can we make workflows easier to accomplish at the point of application for users to do things more quickly and nimbly than they were able to do previously? And then also, hey, we've built lots of projects like this. We build lots of hospitals. How can we derive data from those hospitals? Of course, it comes right from these integrations, from these syncs. FileSync is a great example, making sure that we're gleaning the right insights from the right data to be actionable going forward, right? All of that is super, super useful. So from our perspective, we are trying to do very close listening to our customers and then building that into our roadmap so that when we release things, our customers are really excited. Just for some perspective, we've seen some amazingly good feedback from our customers, even in the beta releases that we have put out. So we feel like, of course, we'll never be perfect on every release, but we feel like we're moving in the right direction that will bring our customers what they need as they work through their data problems and their workflow problems. And clearly, AI is going to be in the middle of that. Some of it's going to be implicit in the workflow. Customers will do something and they won't realize how AI unlocked this value for them. Some of them will discreetly say, hey, let's pull all of this data into this project so we can derive those insights that we need. And so the data is mine. Help me find out the insights, Bluebeam or Graytech. Help us to figure this solution out, industry player, because we demand it. We talked a little bit about that as well. So I feel like there was a big shock and oh, well, we got this cool thing coming. Now it's kind of down to brass tacks. I feel like one of the founders of the company's name's Don Jacob. I just saw a little blurb on him. He mentioned that AI feels like 1999 internet, and I
Yeah, I
think
saw
that's
that.
accurate, right? That's what
Yeah.
it feels like. It feels like what can I do with this internet thing back in the day? Now we're looking at it in 2026, and we're saying, what? Okay, we know this is going to transform our business, but it's up to us to figure out how. And so we feel like we're on the leading, potentially bleeding edge of some of these technologies to just hypercharge our customer base. And let's be honest, a lot of the challenges that we're seeing are going to remain. We're going to
Yeah.
be short staffed. We're not going to have the right people that we need. We're going to have demanding project schedules. We're going to have cost overrun issues. We're going to have issues with materials. We're going to have issues of collaborating across stakeholder groups, subs, contractors, construction managers, owners, architects. All of these folks have to collaborate. Though we can't just work those out of the system, unfortunately. But how can we actionably, intelligently unlock value for our customers? And I'm telling you this, I'm honest in this approach. We are doing everything that we can to maintain integrity to that approach at Bluebeam. And so connecting to our industry players, listening to our customers, we feel like we've got a lot in store for the customers this year and beyond for sure.
Yeah, and I saw some snippets to the AI integrations that you've all done with Bluebeam at last year's Unbound event, and it's quite cool to see quick returns. I feel like with just the learning aspects within the application, very cool stuff. And So with that in mind, what particular advice would you give as we're all learning, right, how to
Yep.
apply these to different business? You sort of spoke to it a little bit that it's going to be active, but what do you think is a good starting point, or when thinking about data integrations, long-term readiness, where do you feel that the focus should be on first, I guess, or as the next phase? What are your thoughts to that?
I love these types of questions. I absolutely love these types of questions. I feel like there's sometimes you would read about the construction industry and feel like that we're still building uh, monoliths in Egypt or something, right? Like, oh, you're so old school and all this stuff. I have not stepped onto a job site or spoken to a customer who is not adopting immense amounts of technology and handling immense amounts of data. I've never met I haven't met them, right?
Yeah,
On the job
same.
sites that are out there, there's just so much happening. So the first thing I would say is give yourself some credit. Give yourself some credit. You are dancing this difficult task of doing an amazingly interesting thing. That project, that building did not exist until your team started working on it. You're building something from the ground up. And the challenges that you're reaching and solving every single day, those are being solved by good intuition, by technology, and a lot of hard work. And so, first thing is give yourself some credit. You are the experts on the field. You're making difficult decisions, and by and large, you're doing an amazingly good job at it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is start where you're at. Look at the lay of the land. You don't have to adopt every new technology, even though a lot of us would ask you to do that. Be patient with yourself. Take a lay of the land. Figure out where you're at. So that's the first thing. Give yourselves credit. Second thing is give let's take a look at what the problems are, where we are at this moment. And then the third thing is always take time to sharpen the saw. What is out there that could change the way we're thinking of this particular problem or how we're approaching this particular project. I'll give you an example of where we're being really good at this. So if you're just going to go, we talked about data centers for a second. If you're going to go knock on the door of an active data center for one of these hyperscalers and said, "Hey, can I go inside and see if there's a way I can help you to be better at your job?" They would say, "No, pound sand, you're not coming into my area. There's so much trade secrets. There's lots of stuff that's happening here that I can't show the world." The interesting thing about the construction world, and I have been on some amazing job sites, above ground, below ground, high in the air, building a simple mini mall. But if I can walk onto that job site that's active and open and talk to the stakeholders and say, "Hey, I'm with construction provider A, B, or C. I think I have something that can help you." Maintain an open, curious mindset. Of course, you're busy. You don't have time for every request like this, but always keep your eyes open. And our industry is super good at this. So, my ability to show up to that world-class job site and say, "I can solve your problem," they'll open the job site trailer door, right? Okay, cool. Let's talk about how you can help me with my problem. And the door is open, right? Unlike it would be if that project was already handed over to the owner, right? So maintain that open posture because there are things coming down there that you might not understand yet. You're too busy to look at, but have that little bit of curiosity and a little bit of an open door, and even dedicating a little bit of time every week to just think about what technologies and what new developments, what new approaches can help you in your work. So that's what I would say. That's how I would help customers to be practical about embracing technology, data problems, integrations, etc.
Steve, I think that was very well said, and because the objective is subjective, and the reality of
Mm-hmm.
these companies, there's so much work that gets put onto these projects that sometimes it's hard to take a step back and to strategize, view your own tech stack, your way of doing things, and challenge those.
Yep.
So you have to be easy on yourself as well, and know that there's partners like this that are willing to just have the conversations with you and give you some insight of what we've seen, what the common trends are. But this is a collaborative effort,
Yep.
not only between partners and so on, but with customers as well. We're learning as we go as well, and we're aligning what we do with what your reality is and what best would fit you. So I guess to close, let's summarize the key points of today's session. So The AEC industry is moving decisively towards connected ecosystems, right? That's a given. Integration is now commercial and operational requirements. So it's not just a desire. It's really something that every company needs in their business. So that we're seeing it's not just a request. It's not necessarily demanded, but it is heavily requested. Bluebeam is a central tool of that ecosystem. So, as mentioned earlier, Bluebeam is being used throughout every single part of the project. Really, it can be used from sale all the way down to the delivery team, etc. And partners like Great Tech extend its value not only through services and so on, but by integrations and connecting with studios, projects, and automation and reliable data flow are the only scalable way forward. If the session has sparked ideas in your organization, whether around Bluebeam, hybrid environments, or broader integration strategies, both Graytech and Bluebeam are here to help you. I think that was a key message in the session as well, and help shape your roadmaps, but for you all to help shape ours as well. So with that said, Steve, thanks so much for joining me.
My
It was a
pleasure.
pleasure speaking with you, and thank you all for joining today's session. And have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, all right. Well, thank you so much for this very insightful, wonderful presentation, Tommy, and thank you for being here. We're going to move into the Q&A portion of the session now. While people are while we give time for the questions to start trickling in, I'm going to show this poll here so that you guys could answer, and we really want to see who's our audience and what you're focused on right now. So the first question is, which systems would be most valuable for your organization to integrate with? So while you answer that, let's tackle the questions. We got quite a couple. The first one was, how does Bluebeam handle IFC files? And I know you answered this already, Tommy, throughout the
Yes,
presentation. Wanted to.
so just for those who couldn't see it perhaps in the chat. So in short, Bluebeam Review can handle IFCs in the sense that you can open them if you convert them into 3D PDFs, and then you can mark them up. But it's not a full IFC viewer that preserves all BIM data and the structure to the data. So you can, again, convert it into 3D PDFs and mark them up. And then with using a solution like FileSync, you can exchange them to and from different platforms. But again, you're not going to be able to view it in a BIM-centric way, if that makes sense, with the data structure.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to bring that up in case someone couldn't see it. And then the follow-up was, can Bluebeam markups as built info or RFIs be migrated to the BIM model? Could you answer that for us?
The short answer is, well, not yet. So this is something that we would like to do in the near future. As you can see, we already have an integration with Bluebeam, and we can exchange documentation to and from. But the goal is to really be able to leverage the markups in the future and have them linked to issues and perhaps assets. In AEC, we're not quite there yet, but this is something that we're looking to achieve in the future.
Awesome. And then, is the old, more colorful Bluebeam interface ever coming back?
That I can't speak to. Unfortunately, Steve was unable to join us for the Q&A. He had another obligation at the same time. I cannot speak for Bluebeam's interface and UI, but we'll take that down and note, and of course send the comments and questions over to Steve as well.
All right. And then, Tommy, what about advanced steel data exports, SMLX files not being 100% compatible with Tekla EPM, product management software?
So this goes back to my previous days on the structural steel side of things, and working with MRPs and manufacturing execution systems. So what I would recommend there is testing CIS2 imports. Of course, you can always import NC1 files for the just general components. But of course, when importing an advanced steel model, you'd want to retain the bolt information, assembly information, part mark information, and so on. I would test CIS2 and check the result there. It's probably going to be most stable.
All right. Thank you, Tommy, for that, for answering all of these questions. We are coming up on time, and I do want to give everyone a chance to hop on the other sessions. And also, I wanted to let you know that we have recorded this session, and you are going to be receiving the recording right in your email, right shortly after this session is over. And if you have any questions, any additional questions, please do reach out to us. Do not hesitate to reach out to us at webinars@greattech.com, and we'll be happy to assist you. All right. So on behalf of Great Tech, I want to thank you, Tommy, for this phenomenal presentation. And thank everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye.